Welcome back into Talking Pittsburgh. Joy today for Department of Aid, Trade, Consumer Protection in the satellite office. Maybe I don't know. He's somewhere. It's Michael. He's back and he is ready to go. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jeremy.
You are well connected. I love that background. I'm just gonna keep picking on that background. I think it's cool. My background, like I'm sitting in the middle of some apartment buildings in Fitchburg. But nevertheless, we are here to talk about today scammers call consumers about fake loans. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, I don't even answer these calls, Michael, because you told me not to answer them. But it's kind of an interesting, maybe I don't want to say twist, but different take on this. But nevertheless, we start talking about any like scammer calling you or a call, the first thing that pops in my mind is just that unwanted or unsolicited call, and timing's everything. And so when you hear of these things and you guys see these things kind of come up, I'm jumping right into safety point number one here, but for the most part, when somebody calls you just unsolicited, like that's got to be like a red flag, right?
Always, we want everyone to be on the alert when they receive an unsolicited call promoting just about anything. Unfortunately, it's a reality that with every good call, there's probably a scam call that's going to be related to it, or somebody's trying to exploit that. So that alarm should always be up. And with this one, we're kind of talking about loans in two different angles where consumers are receiving calls, but they're also leaving voicemails. It's not just that unsolicited call, but the voicemail. And there's tying to that emotional reaction where they're pitching, hey, you qualify for a loan, or that there's loan applications that this consumer never finished. But in reality, none of these are real. But these scammers are making these calls, hoping that the consumers become excited or concerned or alarmed that their personal information was used to complete or cancel a loan application. So before they think about it, they're, like a lot of these scams, they're reacting quickly to say, how do I fix this problem? Or how do I seize this opportunity to get this loan that I might qualify for?
It's pretty impressive so to go the extra length to leave a message, and then and use different buzzwords here to, again get you like, oh my gosh, I didn't have a loan out there. I better call this number back right away. And it's like you're right, you walk yourself right into it. If a scammer does tell you that you are pre-qualified for a loan, and or that application's out there, would you even recommend, like, where would you recommend starting to verify without calling the number back or not going back to that source?
The first thing you want to check is your credit report. So going there, and that'll let you know if, in fact, any new loans had been opened up in your name. Now, with this one, they're talking about there's an application pending, so that's not going to show up on your credit report, but it might show up as an inquiry if, in fact, there was a legitimate loan that was applied for. Oftentimes, you're going to see that it hasn't been, and that's going to let you identify quickly that this is a scam.
And then if you happen to call the number back and you start engaging with these folks and then realize like, oh man, this isn't good. What would you recommend folks do? And it's kind of hard to say because you don't know how deep they got into it. But if you feel like you've given away some of your personal data now, like what do you recommend?
If you think you may have given away some of that personal info, obviously stop immediately, hang up that phone call, and depending on what you gave away, but you can kind of monitor your identity. And if you were to check our website, we have a lot of tips and tools on how you can proactively monitor your identity to see if it had been compromised or it was misused down the road. One of those is regularly checking your credit report, which you can do for free. Another is placing a security freeze on your credit with the three credit reporting agencies, and that will stop anyone from opening a new line of credit or a loan in your name. And those two things alone can be a lot of protection for you and help you make sure that your information is safeguarded.
So going back to the top of this interview, I said, I ignore just about every phone call at this point, and it's so hard to say if it's going to be real or not real. But for other safety tips, I like that being skeptical of caller ID because we just never know. It could be a spoof of your actual bank or actual credit, bureau, whatever. I mean, you just never know.
And with a lot of these scams, oftentimes it is. And, it's very easy to display a different phone number or name on what comes up when they're making these scam calls. And a lot of the times it will show whatever loan agency or potentially that real phone number for that particular lender. And what that does is it kind of gets that consumer's guard down and thinks, okay, this lender says who they are. It says it on the phone. You know what? It must be them. And in reality, it's very, very easy to fabricate what shows up on that phone. And so we just can't trust caller ID anymore.
And then blocking the number, if it is through a cell phone, and maybe other ways, cell phone would be the one I would assume most people would deal with. You can block the number. What's the advantage of doing that?
Well, blocking the number kind of helps prevent any more calls, obviously, from coming through, but then any other variations of what might be taking place with that scam. So, we get so many phone calls that we don't keep track of exactly what phone number is calling or why it's calling. Also, that number, may display a lender one time, it might display a utility the next time, it might display a law enforcement the next time. And so by blocking that number, what it does is it kind of keeps that consumer protected from any scam that might be committed through that phone number.
And then reporting these, you have to report it because you will never know if there are variations, as the two we spoke about today. So a plea here for people to report, Michael, why do they want to do that or should do that?
Uh, Reporting it is really important because it gives us at the Bureau an opportunity to make sure that other consumers are educated. So this is one of those help your neighbors moment where if we hear about what's going on, like these two that we're talking about here, we only know this is happening because of the calls and complaints that we receive. But it gives us an opportunity to talk with you, Jeremy, and share with your viewers what's going on out there so that we can help make sure other consumers and our neighbors aren't victimized.
All right. Well, it's very interesting. Like I said, to actually leave a voicemail, with this information is kind of interesting. And nevertheless, I think you've given us some good tips here to be aware. But don't let your guard down, right? I mean, the calls are going to keep coming, the emails are going to keep coming, the text messages are going to keep coming, and just taking that moment to think about what's going on there and don't act immediately, probably can save you some headaches for sure.
That's the key, is to make sure you're staying vigilant on what you should be looking for and then always pausing. We always say react, don't respond. And that's how we want to make sure you can stay protected.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Michael, I appreciate the information. And one more time for folks to get out at DATCP's website to either find more information or to report something, how can they do so?
You can visit us at datcp.wi.gov, or if you have any questions, feel free to call our hotline at 1-800-422-7128.
All right, Michael, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jeremy.